So now that we got that under our belt, let's dig a little bit deeper into insert multi-mesh brush functionality, as well as where to download them, where they are in ZBrush, and also how to make your own. So let's keep this simple, and we'll go and grab just a primitive. Let's grab a primitive plane, make it a polymesh 3D. Make sure you're in edit mode. Let's go ahead and turn off perspective here. If we turn on polyframe here, we just have a regular plain old plane here. So we go to BI brush insert. You're going to see we have a bunch of insert mesh brushes here. We're going to skip the curves for now. We're going to get to those in a bit. But we have IMM basic, IMM boolean. Boolean's really cool. We're going to get to that in a bit too. But I mean, pick any of these in here. In fact, let's go to IMM spaceship. And if you hit M, you're going to see there's a bunch of things you can select. Up here, there's a ton of things you can select. So let's hit the M key. Let's just grab something. You can drag it onto your canvas, or not on your canvas. You can drag it out onto your object here. And again, you can hit W and you can just cycle through different ones if you want to pick something else. In fact, I think this will work. Let's go to BI brush insert. Let's go to the model toolkit. Still have W selected, and now you can cycle through an entirely different brush put right where your gizmo is. Let's choose a little bit of a simpler brush here. So let's go to BI brush insert. Go ahead and choose industrial parts. You can see the little number out here. That's how many are in there. So 120 and 162 in the ship. But industrial parts is fairly simple. It's only got 12. So we'll go ahead and select that one. So what I'm going to do with this brush selected is I'm going to go to my Z plugin. And if you don't know how to install Z plugins, go ahead and go to the video in the week 0 or the intro videos. And you can install the IMM extractor. So with this one selected, all you need to do is have a subtool or an IMM brush selected, go to IMM brush to subtools, and it's going to say not selected because we're in our gizmo mode, so hit Q to go back into draw mode. So now we have this brush selected, then go ahead and extract that. So now all of those objects that were in there for insert are now in our subtools here. So now you can see exactly how this thing was created. And they're all even named correctly. So here's bolt head, flat head, Phillips type 1 and 2, all that good stuff. So I go into solo mode here, you're going to see number 1, they're all, if I touch the down arrow on my keyboard, they're all pointing in the direction that I want to drag them out. Number 2, they're all named. So that's a little bit nicer when you're going through and you're kind of hunting through these. Sometimes it's nice to have them named. And also, just like when we hit the N key to select subtools, so I can narrow it down to like the N, there's 2 of them that start with N, and then you can hit U to select the subtool. You can also hit the M as in Mike. That's the multi-mesh insert brush, and you can also narrow it down the same way. You can hit P, and now there's 4 P brushes, and now you can hit S, and that'll go ahead and select that brush to insert. But usually I can just use the visual to go there and select. So we've used a default ZBrush insert mesh brush, and we've taken it and extracted it out to subtools. How do we make our own? And also, how do we update this brush? Well, let's get into it. First, we'll start with how to make our own. Let's go out of edit mode, hit Control N. Go ahead and grab a Cylinder 3D primitive, drag it on your canvas, go into edit mode, and while it's still a primitive, go down here to initialize. Change your V divides down to 3, and your H divides, let's change that down to 12. Go back up, hit make polymesh 3D, and if you've already seen the ZModeler videos, all you got to do is go into your ZModeler brush, hover over an edge. Let's go ahead and bevel this edge loop complete. Let's go ahead and do an inset polygroup island region. Let's go ahead and inset that. We'll inset it one more time. Then we'll hover over a face, hit spacebar, QMesh, polygroup island again, and then just start bringing this one down, then hold down shift and just pop that one in. So let's say I want to make this cool shape an insert mesh brush. Now, depending on how you want it drawn out, let's say we want to put a bolt on our head over here. We need to have the camera looking directly at it. So if I look straight at this object as it is, I can go to B, I can hit the B key, and I can go to create insert mesh brush down here. I can also, let's get rid of Z plugin, drag our brush menu over here. You can go to create insert mesh. So it's kind of up to you. I'm used to hitting B and then hitting create insert mesh. It'll ask you if you already have a brush selected. Let's go ahead and hit escape to cancel. Let's go to brush, and we'll go back to industrial parts. Let's say we want to add this to our industrial parts here. If you hit B, create insert mesh, it'll ask you, do you want to make it a new insert mesh brush that's completely separate by itself, or do you want to append this current object to this stack? If you append, you'll want to make sure that you save this out as either a duplicate or you save over the original. Go to the brush save video in order more information on that. But what I'm going to do in this instance is hit new. So now you're going to see we have PM3D cylinder here, and this is a new object. Now, if I rotate around my object and hold the shift to snap, and I hit B, create insert mesh, append, it's going to append, and it's going to tell you, skip that note till next start, it's going to say it's going to append an object. You're going to see this one's that forward, this one's that way. If I hold down shift and shift it to the right, brush, create insert mesh, append. Now we've got 3 different orientations. If we go and grab the head that we've been using, turn off polyframe here, and I want to put a bolt in this recess, and I use this one that's selected. It's going to draw out sideways because that's how we captured it. This one's going to capture as these things are pointed away from us. We can hit W and move that out. And then this one, oops, we had W turned on, so with our head selected and that turned on, and we touch any of these, it's going to replace the head with that mesh. Not what I wanted, so I'm going to hit Q, tap this one, and then drag this one out. Now you're going to see when I drag it out, it's kind of sticking out of his head a lot. If you want to control that, go over here to your depth. This is under the brush menu, depth, and you're going to see the bounding box of that object is barely going to touch the surface here. So for example, if we put it on his head here, you're going to see here's the bounding box of the object, and there's the surface of your object. It's just kind of barely skimming the surface. If you want it to be like stuck right in the middle, you can just drag this down, and now if I undo that and then drag it onto my object, you're going to see it's embedded halfway through my object. So think of this dark area as your surface, and then this round area as the bounding box of your bolts. So now you can continue to drag more and more bolts out in this guy, and they're going to be nice and embedded. Let's go ahead and undo that. Now let's say, you know what, the only one that's useful to me is this first one here. I don't need these other 2. So all you got to do is select that. You can hit delete mesh. And if you want, you can copy meshes. You can copy one mesh. And once you copy, you can paste. You can paste and replace. You can paste and append. So you can actually go through and copy and paste from one brush to another or within one insert mesh brush. So let's go ahead and delete this other one too. So now we have this one. Let's go back to our polymesh cylinder here. Let's duplicate this. And we're in solo mode, so I'm just going to be seeing this selected subtool here. And in fact, if I just want to start with my cylinder again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one up. I'm going to select the second one, and I'm just going to take this undo slider and go back to where we just had that bevel. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over this one. Let's do another inset polygroup island. I'm going to pull this one way to the middle. Do the same thing for this one. Pull this one way to the middle. And this time I'm going to pull it out. So this will be my second insert mesh brush. Now before I make an insert mesh brush, what I'm going to do is I can keep these polygroups, but I'm going to go down here to crease. I'm going to say crease PG. Now I have Z-modeler selected because I was doing Z-modeler operations, so what I want to do is go hit B, go back to my original insert mesh brush, hold down Shift to snap to the orientation I want to capture it at, go over here to brush, create insert mesh, append, and now we've got these 2. And now when I go back to my head and I drag this one out, and you know we can always go in there and we can do our subtool split menu. I can do split mask points, go out of solo mode, and that's of course subtool split. Now I can hit D for dynamic, and it's going to keep my creasing here. Oops, I guess I hit crease polygroup, so a crease one's on here, but the bottom one didn't get creased. So in that case, I'm going to need to go down here to crease and just use a crease tolerance here.